florida.disaster.org/report. That's florida.disaster.org/report. We have made that more specific. Yesterday it was info, but we made it a little more specific so you did not have to hunt around for that site. So again, I'll repeat it for the third time. florida.disaster.org/report to complete the shelter-in-place survey. I want to reiterate that is not a replacement for 911. If you are in an emergency situation, you need to call 911 in your local area. Our logistical staging areas in Central Florida have all the additional resources that we need to respond. We have tarps, we have medical supplies if needed in those warehouses. We want to make sure that all the available resources can get to the residents as quickly as possible. We are obviously in a situation now where we are starting our 72-hour clock, and that 72-hour clock is that we search first, we secure, and then we stabilize. So that is what the focus of the State Emergency Response Team is going to be over the next 72 hours. Again, that is search, secure, and stabilize. I want to thank the Governor and the First Lady for their continued leadership and support. They've been here nonstop around the clock. And again, sir, I thank you for that.
Okay, First Lady.
No, I just want to say on behalf of the Governor and myself, everyone here who's working at the Emergency Operations Center, all of the men and women who have not left since this disaster began, to all of those people across the state, our first responders, I want to say thank you, because the people across the state and the country have stepped up big to support our Florida Disaster Fund. So far, in less than 24 hours since we launched the fund, we've raised $1.6 million. I am in constant contact with two folks. One, the people of Volunteer Florida, to pledge that we are going to remove any red tape and bureaucracy from getting those funds deployed to the people who need them immediately. And then also we're working with a lot of businesses across the state to continue to build upon that. But thank you to the people across this country and this state for stepping up to help wonderful people who are in need. Again, there's a couple of ways that if you want to continue to donate, you can go to floridadisasterfund.org, or you can also text disaster to 20222. But on behalf of so many wonderful people, thank you for stepping up, and please continue to do so.
So we will be having all assets marshaled until the job is done on this initial phase. I may be able to get down today to help to survey and talk to some of the folks down in Lee and Charlotte counties. But those were massive impacts, and so we are looking at. Kevin said, these 72 hours very important for safety for folks and rescuing people that need that. And eventually bringing some stability, but you're looking at a storm that's changed the character of a significant part of our state. And this is going to require not just emergency response now in the days or weeks ahead. I mean, this is going to require years of effort to be able to rebuild and to come back. These are fantastic communities down in Southwest Florida with a lot of fantastic people, and they're very tough and resilient. Of course, they didn't ask for this, but they need our help now, and we're going to be there for them. And we understand that this is going to be a very, very long process. And we also understand that these effects are going to go throughout the state today, and you're going to continue to see effects from flooding and these other ailments, not just today, but in the days ahead. So thanks for the support for everyone around the country who's donated, and thanks for everyone who's volunteered the time, and thanks for all the other states who have lent their support to us. Okay.
Been reports that maybe there were hundreds of fatalities in Lee County. Do you have any clarification on how?
So none of that is confirmed. I think what that is there were 911 calls for people saying, hey, the water is rising in my home. I'm going to go up in the attic, but I'm really worried. Of course, those folks are now going to be checked on, and so I think you'll have more clarity about that in the next day or so as they're able to go to those locations and determine whether people need services or are able to be rescued. My sense is that that water was very, very high. But my hope is that if folks did go higher, if they were there, it's not comfortable, but now we're in a situation. I mean, if you're there, they want to come get you. And so hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of those people brought to safety. And I can tell you in the barrier islands, I mean, there have been a number of people that have been helicoptered to safety, and it's great because you know, these folks sprung into action and they're doing it. We have had the 2 unconfirmed fatalities in the sense that we don't know that they're linked to the storm. I mean, our assumption is it likely is, and so basically FDLE will make that assessment, and then that will be reported. But that's what we have. That number that was put out by Lee is basically an estimate of, hey, these people were calling, the water was rising on their home, they may not have ended up getting through. So we're obviously hoping that they can be rescued at this point. And I know the folks there locally, those were the areas that they wanted to spring into action to, and they really used the information that was coming, not just through those emergency calls, but also through signing up on the website to see. And I think it's safe to say, Kim, there's a pattern that's developed about where those calls are coming from and where those people are signing up from. And you can see the areas. I mean, no one wants to see. I mean, you see 3 foot of water in a road. I mean, that's obviously bad. That's going to do damage. But you see the places where the water was 4, 5, 6 feet in a residential area, and that is really the life-threatening situation.
Details of what you're hearing from Central Florida as far as flooding and other damages?
Yeah, this morning at 5:45 a.m. I received a phone call from Orange County Emergency Management Director Chief Laura Lee Avery. She's actually technically assigned to the fire department as a division chief over the Department of Emergency Management there. She called me to let me know that they were actively responding to 9 widespread areas along the Colonial Drive area, I-4 State Road 46 area of Central Florida, and that they were requesting assistance for stuff that we may have staged in Orlando. So very quickly this morning, our overnight crew sprung into action and started moving National Guard high water vehicles as well as other assets that were staged there for urban search and rescue elements, swift water elements, and they started moving into action this morning. I do not have a total number of potential saves that they have done, but what it's linked to is the massive amounts of rainfall that are happening there. We were receiving reports that some creeks, tributaries, the area around the St. John's, headwaters around the St. John's area, and unconfirmed, may have been rising at about a rate to about 4 feet in a matter of hours. So lots of rain in the area, lots of instant action water rise. There's a lot of lakes in Central Florida, especially in that Orlando Kissimmee area. And it appears that these lakes were filling up and overflowing into the neighborhoods around them. So that's what is going there on in the Central Florida region. I will say, as a part of Central Florida and also as a part of Southwest Florida, do not come in and tour the area for damage. We have 20,000, 30,000 responders coming into area that need access to those roads. Stay at home. Do not get on the roads. Let the first responders have the roadways. Let the power crews have the roadways. We will get things open up exponentially quicker if we don't have to maneuver around individuals that are just coming into area to look around. So please, stay out of the area, both in Central Florida as well as Southwest Florida. Let the crews get in there, do what they need to do. We're coming in full force. We've got a lot of people coming in there. We need you out of our way so we can get our job done. Thank you.
But also just note, I mean, as this exits the state, it's going to go into the Atlantic Ocean, and it's going to impact other states in our country. And so you're looking at Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, you know, they may be having impacts. This is just a lot of water, and you're going to have flooding in those other states as well. Of course, they're not going to have to deal with the catastrophic impact that Florida suffered on the southwest coast. But this thing is not done creating damage. I mean, this thing's going to continue to move. You know, I know they've declared state of emergencies in many of those states, and they're going to have to deal with this storm, which is wreaking havoc across our state, but it's going to end up wreaking havoc in communities across the southeastern part of the United States. Yes.
Governor, you made a comment about a pattern for the 911 calls and the the surveys, is there an area that you're looking at that you can share?
So I would say, and then Kevin can come in and do, I mean, I would say obviously the places that got the catastrophic storm surge. So you'd be looking at the barrier islands in Lee, Charlotte counties, some of the coast, even in Collier County. And then you're looking at, as you go inland, in kind of that Fort Myers, Charlotte County juncture, where you've got the Caloosahatchee, you've got these inlets, you've got the harbor. Those areas, because the storm surge can come on a barrier island, it's there, and then that is just caught, the water's just building up. And so you see that they were absolutely consistent with Kevin posted, we have it in there in our room, the inundation map from 24 hours ago of what we projected. And what you'll see is some of those areas, you go inland even many blocks, and you have massive inundation that are off those areas. And so I think it was a pretty consistent pattern. And I think if you look at what's going on, it's going to be those communities in Lee and Charlotte counties that are close to those bodies of water that probably suffered the most severe flooding. And, there's people that had, I mean, the Coast Guard has had people that were in their attic and got saved off their rooftops in those areas because of the flooding. So that, I think, is pretty clear that was really that. But you also have, I mean, normally we would say, having 3 or 4 foot of flooding in some residential area was like a big deal. You see that in like Northport, I think I would say, in southern parts of Sarasota, but that's just a different degree than what we've seen in Lee and Charlotte counties. Okay, we will be back here likely later today, but we will be down in Southwest Florida as well.